Brexit throws up a ton of questions for technology companies about how Britain's departure from the EU will change business. For TechRepublic and ZDNet, I'm Dan Patterson with Nick Heath. Nick, just as a refresher, can you remind us what Brexit is and how this impacts all industries, especially the technology industry?
Well, Brexit is the process of the UK leaving the EU. Just over half of the people who voted in a referendum in 2016 voted to leave the EU, which kick-started a whole year's worth of negotiations. They've just finished, those were between the EU and the UK government. They've just finished the first stage of negotiations, and this year they're anticipating they'll move on to discussing the future trade relationship between the UK and the EU. And this is really when a lot of the stuff that's important to business is going to get nailed down and sorted out.
Yeah, so this is really the nitty-gritty of the practical impact of Brexit on business. So specifically tech firms, how will this change companies going forward?
Well, there's a whole raft of ways that Brexit is expected to affect businesses in general and tech firms in particular. Skills is a big area. Currently about 1/5 of digital technology businesses source skills from inside of Europe. So obviously continued access to those skills is a big concern. Startups have also said they're worried about continued access to skills. And by some estimates, there's been a 40% drop in visa applications from the EU for people to work as technology executives. There's also worries about this transition period after the UK leaves the EU in 2019. There's expected to be a 2-year transition period. There's concerns whether that's going to be long enough for companies to prepare for any changes in regulation. There's worried about new trade tariffs and also regulations on goods and services, how those are going to change in the wake of the Brexit taking place. And finally, there's doubts over rules governing data sharing and whether they're going to allow for the continued easy sharing of data between the UK and the EU, which obviously have an impact on cloud services and data centers and a lot of issues at the core of the technology industry.
So it sounds like Brexit will impact not just technology firms and services, but it will also impact access to talent. What can tech companies all around the world do now in 2018 to prepare for next year's event?
Well, the problem is that there's not a lot of certainty at the moment as to what the outcome will be. And there have been repeated warnings by business groups in the UK that the government really needs to get more of a concrete idea in place as to what will happen when Britain leaves the EU. I mean, all they can do at the moment and what they are already doing is freezing investments. So you've seen a big drop in discretionary spending like IT projects and those sort of investments. So you're just seeing a lot more caution from tech companies and from businesses in general at the moment. That said, there has been a big groundswell of investment from the major tech firms since the Brexit referendum. Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, they've all announced thousands of new jobs in the UK and billions of pounds worth of expansion of facilities in the UK as well, of new headquarters and the like. So that's a positive, but we haven't actually left the EU yet, and it does seem like a lot of those decisions would have been made before the referendum in 2016.
It's a nuanced and complicated story. TechRepublic's Nick Heath wrote a fantastic primer as he continues to follow the impact of Brexit on tech that you can read at TechRepublic. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe and stay up to date on the TechRepublic Next Big Thing newsletter.